Through conducting my audience analysis, many of you chose false in regards to this statement. Every single animal in a zoo experiences some form of undernourishment, mistreatment, or develops psychological problems from the condition of their living quarters. Many of you strongly or mildly agreed with this statement. Animals that are born in captivity are the only animals that should live in zoos. Most all of you strongly agreed with this statement. Animals that are captured from the wild should be rehabilitated and placed into a sanctuary or released back into the wild if possible. Most of you did not know which zoo has the largest animal population in the United States, but 2 of you guessed correctly in choosing the San Diego Zoo. All of you chose the best possible answer for the basic necessities an animal needs to survive. The answer was food, water, shelter, and space. Imagine you're in a dark enclosure with glass walls and people staring in and watching you, seeing the outside world and not recognizing the freedom it contains. Animals in captivity suffer both mental and physical trauma from being stripped from their natural habitat. My love for animals led me to investigate the conditions they withstand while being held in zoos as a source of public entertainment for the people. Today, I'd like to share the history of zoos, why animals are taken there, side effects on animals living in captivity, and alternatives to zoos. First, I'm going to explain the history of zoos. The word zoo is short for zoological park, originated 3,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. Zoos also existed in later civilizations, including China, Greece, and Rome. The model of the modern public zoo became popular in the 18th century, during the Age of Enlightenment. The Age of Enlightenment was a period in European history when science, reason, and logic were promoted as ideals of society and government. The scientific focus of the Age of Enlightenment extended to zoology. During this time, people started wanting to study animals for scientific reasons. Scientists wanted to research animal behavior and anatomy. To do this, scientists and zookeepers had to keep animals in places that were close to or resembled the animals' natural habitats. The first modern zoo was built in 1793, opened in Paris, France. Now that we know a little bit about the history of zoos, let's see why animals are taken there. Despite their professed concern for animals, zoos can be more accurately described as collections of interesting animals than as actual havens or homes. Many times, zoos will take in animals who are injured or would not otherwise survive in the wild, but this is not always the ideal situation for them. Even under the best circumstances, at the best of zoos, captivity cannot begin to replicate wild animals' habitats. Animals are often prevented from doing most of the things that are natural and important to them, like running, roaming, flying, climbing, foraging, choosing a mate, and being with others of their own kind. As there is no simple reason for animals being taken to zoos, rather than for breeding purposes or maintaining an interesting collection, the effects on these animals can be detrimental, such as interfering with animals' livelihood and keeping them locked up in captivity where they are bored, cramped, lonely, deprived of all control over their lives, and far from their natural homes. Extending upon this, many other common symptoms animals suffer in zoos are dying prematurely or being killed due to lack of public interest or use as entertainment. Zoos do not serve as conservation. Physical symptoms will include pacing, over-grooming and self-mutation, and sham chewing. Mental symptoms include depression, anxiety, fear, and anger. A common and recommended alternative to zoos is an animal refugee or sanctuary. This is a place that shelters injured, abused, or abandoned animals of all kinds to rehabilitate and protect them. Visiting animal refugees can give you a rewarding feeling the second you enter, as your admission fee acts as a donation to support the needs of the rescued animals. In closing this speech, animals in captivity suffer both mental and physical trauma from being stripped from their natural habitat. I have covered the history of zoos, why animals are taken there, the side effects on animals living in captivity, and alternatives to zoos. While it remains in question if zoos will continue to flourish and thrive, even with this unsettling information and research becoming ever more present, time will only tell when or if zoos will completely be shut down for good.